A very warm welcome to everyone. Welcome to the Chartbook podcast. And today we're doing a unique experiment. Usually on Canada, it's just Daniel and I yapping away. But for today's discussion, I reached out to Clyde and I asked Clyde, would you like to join us for this very important discussion where we are going to dissect the views of Daniel's son, JagMeet Singh? And Clyde was like, yeah, what the hell? Let me come and join. It's every time, everybody shouts, who's your daddy to JagMeet Singh? He says, Daniel.
I'm just learning of this gag now.
Yes, for season listeners, it's I am the king of Khalistan. I am more Khalistani than the Khalistanis. Because listen, they're destroying the country, but they're a bunch of softies. I'm not sure if we should use the P word or not. And I will say that Khalistan should be established in the capital of the former empire of Ranjit Singh and his birthplace. So I want Lahore and Nankata to be under Sikh sovereignty, which is what they're too afraid to say. Now that just gets into like a crazy. That's I don't think any white people understand what the hell I just said, but to all our brown people out there, that's a very funny thing that I'm doing.
It has triggered the exact audience that Daniel wants to trigger. But on a very serious note, today's discussion is on when I first came across this accusation, I did not even know how to react to this. So I was like, really? I mean, this is what we're talking about now. This is what people are taking offense to now. So this is to give everybody a brief background. There was a particular hashtag. This bit is not for the Canadians, but this is for the people in India who must be like, what? People are outraging about Sellout Singh. Now, try and understand. Indians would not give a shit about this. But Canadians giving a shit about this. But so for the Indian viewers, there was a hashtag used by Pierre Poilievre of the Conservative Party of Canada who said Sellout Singh, and it was used for JagMeet Singh. Now, how did this name come up is a historical bit where a couple of years ago there was a trip of JagMeet Singh to Brampton, or Bangladesh, as we like to call it in Canada. And on his trip to Bangladesh, some of the members of the Sikh community started calling him, you're JagMeet, you're a sellout, you're Sellout Singh. And we'll play the clip for people who have any doubt about whether people did call him or not. But then, as always, a certain section of the community inside Canada, they started accusing Pierre Poilievre of racism. So this is exactly what had happened. This is the first clip I want to play. True North had shared this clip where JagMeet Singh was basically asked this question. So this is what JagMeet Singh had to say.
Can I just ask you what a term that Poilievre keeps calling you Sellout Singh? We heard from Minister Harjit Sajjan earlier today in Nanaimo that he said that that's a very, very racist term. As a Sikh man, he sees it as that way. How do you see it?
I think what Pierre Poilievre is doing, and the Conservatives have done for a long time, they like to insult. They like to make things about petty insults and make things about attacking people personally. You see, what I do is I attack what he's going to do to Canadians. I'm concerned that Pierre Poilievre's vision of Canada is to tear down our healthcare system. And so I attack him on the policy that he's going to hurt Canadians by tearing down our healthcare system. And so you're going to have to pay out of pocket to the care you need. I think that is horrible. I think that's bad. But I attack him on his policies, on his bad decisions, on his track record. He likes to insult people and call people names. I think that shows you what type of person he is. And that's going to be an important part of the decision Canadians make in the next election. Do you want someone who pays petty insults and insults people personally, or someone who's actually going to fight for you to make sure you have a good healthcare system? That's a part of the choice Canadians have in the next election.
So who's this guy? Come on. He's talking about not attacking people personally. What about the guy behind Parliament just last week? He attacks people personally. Absolutely he does.
Yeah. So now I'm going to play Pierre's response to this. So Pierre, this is what Pierre said in response. And it's only fair that, he has accused Pierre of something. Then, somebody might come up and say, well, what did Pierre have to say to this? And I'm going to play Pierre's response to this particular accusation against him by my dear Hagmita, my favorite Canadian politician. This is what Pierre had to say.
First of all, the minister is a liar. He's the one who has been caught lying about his military record, and he's lying again. The nickname was actually created by Sikhs who were criticizing JagMeet Singh, and JagMeet Singh has sold out Canadians. He said he would be a voice for workers, and then he signed on to keep Justin Trudeau in power in order to get his $2.2 million pension. So here we are, we have to wait for an election until next year, because that's when JagMeet Singh gets his $2.2 million pension so that he can buy his fancy watches, cars, and Versace bags. That does make him a sellout. I'm a strong supporter of the Sikh community. My deputy leader is a Sikh. My finance critic is a Sikh. Those are the two most senior positions in the entire Conservative shadow cabinet, are Sikhs, and they have Singh in their names. And I love the Sikh community, and I'm going to keep reaching out in Gurdwaras and across the country. I'm the only one championing the Sikh values of faith, family, and freedom. You know, under Trudeau and Singh, the Sikh community is not safe. They're being targeted. There's been assassinations, extortions, car thefts. Their children can't afford homes. I'm the only one fighting back. I'm the only one fighting for a direct flight to Amritsar. Maybe the minister should actually focus on fighting for Sikhs rather than fighting and making false allegations. Why didn't he get a direct flight to Amritsar? Trudeau signed on to an open skies agreement with Modi with no direct flight to Amritsar. Singapore, Malaysia, UK, UAE, Italy, Uzbekistan all have direct flights to Amritsar, and yet our Punjabi population, which is the biggest in the world outside of India, does not have a direct flight. So why is it that this is, I think the Liberals and the NDP, they really cared about Sikhs, they would actually focus on that.
Fun fact, where my ethnicity traces is literally Amritsar, the place Pierre was talking about. I don't want a direct flight to Amritsar. Good. I hope it never happens. But it's just for different reasons. But so now let's play that video that Pierre Poilievre was actually referring to, which was a while ago. This was, I don't think it was it during COVID, Daniel, when this entire kerfuffle happened. Where,
the original Sellout Singh?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah. I mean, because like, again, any Sikh who isn't a militant Khalistani, none of them like JagMeet, like, and you know, he was a big lock him down, you know, no one, you know, again, the values of the NDP are not, you know, religions, it's like all religions are equal except not Christianity, not Judaism, not Hinduism. Basically, Islamic theocracy is good, is sort of the secular values of the NDP. So again, that clashes with the Sikh community. Again, most Sikhs, again, if you look at the numbers in India, like they're doing well economically, right? Sikhs are a very well-adjusted population historically. New Khalistanis aside, a lot of Sikhs tend to start businesses, employ people. Who's the enemy of business in Canada? The NDP. So it was never like this marriage was just good on paper because a bunch of white 19-year-old girls saw a guy making communist noises in a turban and figured, oh, this guy could beat the white guy making communist noises, because what's better than a white guy making communist noises? It's a brown guy making communist noises. And this was Canada circa 2015-17. And then that led us to JagMeet, which, again, no one on the Canadian left, these white, you know, sheltered people, none of them really understand, like, what's a Hindu, what's a Sikh, what do Muslims believe, what do Jews, like, what do people who aren't them believe? None of them think anything of this, and they just assume that all minorities don't like whites because whites are oppressive, and that therefore minorities are liberals or liberal-minded people, and they then speak for minorities. And this is sort of the mentality it went. And again, no one likes JagMeet Singh, right? The NDP is broke because of him. He completely alienated their labor base. Like, the NDP used to be a party of union factor worker guys, right? And the appeal of the Jack Layton era and before that was, you go into the factories and you say, hey guys, you know, you should be working higher pay, lower hours, right? You know, stand up for the worker over the bosses. We need to protect you. If you get injured on the job, you should be get XYZ. And that, to someone who's working at a steel mill or in some of that thing, that rhetoric can appeal to them. But if you go to a 35-year-old steel mill worker with 2 kids and a wife who works as a nurse, and you say, listen, we need more genders, because Canada is a bad place and white people are evil. That white 35-year-old steel mill worker doesn't really find that you're evil and, we could turn your kids into communists as attractive as a thing. So the NDP lost its classic support of unions and got into a fight with Justin Trudeau over woke 19-year-old upper middle class girls on TikTok. And then he's many different communities have criticized him. And again, he's not very popular inside the non-Khalistani Sikh element. If you're a functioning member of our society, many Sikhs, again, 4 to 5 Sikhs are in the top economic brackets in India. I'm sure the math plays out similar if you parse out some new Khalistani, Punjabi, Jat Sikh, whatever that is. You go back 5-10 years in the data, it would show you that Sikhs tend to do decently well in Canada. They tend to own a lot of businesses. They're not going to like JagMeet so much. It's math or political.
So, Clyde, I want to ask you about the racism bit. But before that, here's the Sellout Singh.
Yeah.
We got questions.
Who's starting anything? Don't get out of your head, bro. Don't say that out loud if you don't want to.
Hey, yo, don't be mean. No, we got questions. We got questions. Running Bhajan Singh. That's his new name. Bhajan Singh.
Just they call him Bhajan Singh. Bhajna in Punjabi means running away. Just giving you guys context.
Okay, I always wondered what they were saying there.
So they were like, Bhajan Singh means Bhajan wala Singh. So he's just running away.
A coward, essentially.
Pete, you slapped me the wrong time. JagMeet, I'm wearing a mask, bro. You gotta respect me. Hey, JagMeet, don't sell out, bro. Don't sell out. Where you going? Pussy. You're selling out, JagMeet. Sellout Singh, bro. You sold out a dome, bro. You sold out a dome. Watch out.
The best
There you
line
go,
there.
ladies and gentlemen. This is how brown people deal with brown people.
Can I give a big shout out to the Sikh guy yelling at him, we're wearing a mask, you have to respect us. My favorite line.
So, Clyde, is
Yes.
Sellout Singh racist? What do you think?
Well, I don't think it's a racist thing to say. I mean, obviously, this is a stretch. This is in the vein of, and it's funny because they talk about the conservatives bringing American-style politics to Canada, but then they always bring American-style politics to Canada from the left. And this is a classic example of pulling out of the 1990s leftist politics from Jesse Jackson. Find something that you don't like and make it about race, make it offensive, make it one of those things. This clip, incidentally, happened just after the signing of the deal that was just recently torn up, the supply and confidence agreement in Canada between the NDP and the federal Liberals. And the whole point of people voting for the NDP was because they didn't want to vote for conservatives. They were very much left-leaning people, but they were dissatisfied with the Liberals. So they gave the NDP their vote as a protest, a point of protest to make sure that the Liberals had a minority and they wouldn't be able to put things through. And what happens? Well, JagMeet Singh hands all the power, the keys over to Justin Trudeau, circumventing democracy, all while talking about saving democracy and just handing it over to Justin Trudeau. And that's exactly what happened there. That's why those people were angry. And that's why they called him Sellout Singh, because he's a sellout and his name's Singh.
So I want to give your viewers a bit of a context, Clyde, because the argument presented by some of the members inside the Khalistani community, not the Sikh community, the Khalistani community, before somebody gets confused, is that the reason why, Sellout Singh is problematic is because Singh is the last name taken by initiated, in Punjabi we call them Amritdhari Singhs, Sikh. Basically, there is a ceremony called Amrit Chakna, and after that you have to follow this certain rules of the Sikh faith. And So that's why, and it starts with the 10th Guru of the Sikh community, or basically from Guru Gobind Singh, and it carries on certain religious values. So the argument is, when Jagmeet Singh is called, when the word Sellout Singh is used, you're actually accusing an entire community, which is kind of a interesting argument, if you ask me, because I want to flip it around and say, when you say fuck Trudeau, are we saying we are fucking every Trudeau on planet Earth?
Well, I mean, you could go to all kinds of extents. If you called him Jimmy McPension, is that offensive to Scottish people out there? I mean, do we have to go to the name that he had previous to?
Jimmy McPension.
I would say there is a parallel here where it'd be just as ridiculous, right? So Singh, you could say, has some religious elements to it. I know the story of the 10th Guru, the 5 warriors coming to the tent, blood on the sword. They became the first Singhs, right? So there is a religious component to it. My religion, Judaism, there's Cohens, right? Cohens is like one of the tribe. There are Levis and Cohens, and Cohens are like part of every tribe because they're like a religious class. But that's why you find Jews with the name Cohen right now. Like, I had friends growing up, blank Cohen. If there was a politician named, let's David Cohen, and he was a screw up, and you called him Careless Cohen, is that an attack on all Jews? No Jew would ever, because yes, Cohen is like a Jewish name that is specifically like a Kohanim, like a priest in the temple, pre-destruction of the temples, pre-modern Judaism, right? There's a Jewish element to the name Cohen. But if you called someone Carefree Cohen or Crazy Cohen, and he was like the prime minister or leader of a party or public official, no one would claim this as anti-Semitic. And anyone who did claim it anti-Semitic, they would probably be like supporters of that one particular person. And I wouldn't be surprised if they found no anti-Semitism in any of the pro-Hitler rallies we've seen across the globe, right? So this is like, I think that's the best analogy. It's like sort of if there's a politician with the last name Cohen and you called him Crazy Cohen or Careless Cohen or Combative Cohen or something, and then said, oh, this is anti-Semitism. It's like, no, that's that guy. You're like, he's an elected official. Jagmeet's a big boy. He's the leader of a federal political party. He has, he has a couple Rolexes and a bunch of fancy suits and nice cars and an entire terrorist network behind him. He can handle himself. This isn't an attack on all Sikhs, because not all Sikhs vote Liberal, Sikhs vote Conservative, Sikhs vote NDP. Again, many Singhs out there. I understand Singh and Kaur, like it's related to the name, but you're not the only religion with things related to the name. And again, Sikhs aren't mad at Sellout Singh. Sikhs started Sellout Singh. Mm-hmm. Sikhs probably say Sellout Singh more than non-Sikhs, right? Because any Sikh who's not a Khalistani thinks Jagmeet sold their community out to the Khalistanis, and by extension, Islamists and communists. Because for like white people, I'll give you like the white people translation here of like why Sikhs would be so mad at him. Right? The Sikh religion starts, because of the Mughal Empire, and they've always fought against, Islamic colonization of them, and they've always, sort of been a bit of a sword and shield of India in a lot of ways. And you have this Khalistan movement, which was created by the ISI, the Pakistani intelligence services, in the 1980s, and used against India. So all these Khalistanis are deeply in bed with fanatical Islamic fanatics connected to the ISI. And the main enemy of the Sikhs historically is radical Islamists. So wherever you find Sikhs in parliament or in an organization, the Muslim Brotherhood and the CCP always follow, right? So they infiltrate with a Khalistani because no one knows what a Khalistani is. People go, oh, yay, diversity. And then behind the Khalistanis, they bring in an interfaith coalition, Muslim Brotherhood, CCP, like any other anti-Western ideology sort of follows in behind them. And the reason why Sikhs hate Khalistanis is because they know, again, those Khalistanis are deeply in bed, financed and funded by the ISI, which is, again, one of the biggest, human rights abusers of Sikhs in the world is Pakistan. Like, Sikhs have been ethnically cleansed out of there. So most Sikhs understand when these Khalistanis like Jagmeet Singh are running around with the people who have historically murdered their people and oppressed them, this is selling them out. Like, Khalistan is a sellout movement to the Sikh community. And that's, that's the original base of it. And again, this is what I hate with all sort of fake community stuff, is like, we all hate, I'm sure like Clyde and many of your audience hate this. You hate when someone gets up, I'm the leader of the black community, and black people say this. I'm the leader. No one's the leader of any of these communities. But what the Khalistanis do is they say, we're the leaders of all the Sikh community. And every Sikh is offended because, because Pierre said, Sellout Singh, because they want to protect their own, right? It's these bad actors who get on, declare themselves captains of the entire universe of Sikhs. And normal people, good, well-adjusted people, like the Sikhs that I know in my area who own like the local successful business, he's not going to get up there and say, I'm the entire Sikh community, because he's a normal person with like, he doesn't need that. It's losers and fanatics who get up and say, I'm the entire Sikh community. And then the effects of Khalistan, I guess we'll go into because we got more here, but that's sort of for white people. That's a primer for the white East.
But before that, for white people, they need a bit of historical context. First of all, Singh comes from the root word Siha, which is a Sanskrit word. It's a Hindu surname. You will find a lot of Hindus who are Singh, Singha, Sinha in India, going all the way back to the 5th century. Jayasimha is a great king of a dynasty. So, no. Baz News and many such Khalistani organizations, you don't get to speak on behalf of the entire Punjabi community. A. There are Hindus who are Singh too. So, no, they're not offended. They're not offended. And even if somebody is offended, my stand on this issue is free speech. I don't give a shit if you're offended. I don't care if you're white, black, brown, yellow, pink, whatever, man. Deal with it. It's free speech. This is a freedom of expression issue. Oh, my religious sentiments are hurt. Well, as a disbeliever, every time I read a religious text, my sentiments are hurt. Are you going to ban your religious text? I don't give a shit about your sentiments. That's my answer to this. And before a Khalistani go, oh, what if they say about, Hindu this? It's like, I go after Hinduism myself, so you don't even get to say that to me. I go after every religion. Please go and check my content out. I don't spare anyone. So it doesn't work. And you know what the funny thing is? So there's a great Indian Sikh in India. One beloved Indian Sikh. We all love him in India. All the Indians in the live stream will be like, ye to humne socha hi nahi tha. As in, we did not think of it. Here is the flying Sikh, Milka Singh. We call him that in India, the flying Sikh. Is that racist now? Oh, you're calling Sikhs somebody who flies? How dare you? We call him, he's somebody, he's a great sportsman from India. He is one of the most loved people in India, Milka Singh. We made a movie on him in India. So this entire hustle is just fake rubbish. And now I want to take, before we get into the whole Khalistan bit and the infiltration of the entire Canadian political system, like Clyde and I touched upon it a little bit in our previous discussion on Clyde's podcast, where I shared my views on how your primary system is rigged. Now, this is step 2, Clyde, which is why I wanted you to stream this on your channel too. For the record, I told Clyde to stream on his channel.
Right.
I was like, no, stream this. Yeah, stream this on your channel so that your audience also knows what the hell is happening. So part 1 was how Khalistanis rigged the primary system. This is step 2. How, after rigging the primaries, the infiltration of the policy-making landscape of the Canadian political system has been taken over. This is the most important bit. And this is where every single Canadian, if they care for Canada, if you care for your country, you should be really worried. Because what happens is, there is an organization, right, which is called the World Sikh Organization. And they speak on behalf of almost everyone on every issue. I'm going to play a clip from the first session, the inaugural session, right?
And I'm going to make one point before you do, for the Canadians out here. Whenever the CBC needs someone to represent the Sikh community or comment on the Sikh community, whatever, 97 to 99% of the time, it's someone from the World Sikh Organization. Now, let's see what their founding guiding principle is.
Yeah. And I'm not making a word of this. I'm glad Puneet Sahni had shared this video on Twitter. Shout out to Puneet Sahni, another brave Indian Sikh, brave son of India. a true patriot, a true American, Canadian, Indian patriot. So this is the video. Puneet had shared this. And it's going to be with the subtitles. Don't worry. It's in Punjabi, but there are English subtitles for everybody to understand.
The WSO's founding convention was an angry affair. It was 1984 in New York, and that was where Ajab Singh Bagri of Kamloops, BC, made a notorious speech urging Sikhs to massacre Hindus.
आपनु भरोसा दवाना है जिन्ना चेर तक 50,000 हिंदू ਅਸੀਂ ਕਤਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਸਾਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਲਵਾਂਗੇ.
And it wasn't just Bagri. The WSO crowd cheered him on. The WSO's founding convention.
So, Clyde, I want to know your reaction first. Indira Gandhi, the former Prime Minister of India, who was murdered by her own security guards. So, how do you feel about the founding day of the World Sikh Organization event? Says we just have to murder 50,000 Hindus, just small change. These pesky Hindus.
That's absurd. Absolutely absurd.
It is normal. It is normal.
And what Sikh organization is an expert in combating discrimination, racial hatred, and all that in Canada? When teachers need to be trained about sensitivity issues towards Sikhs and India and whatever, World Sikh Organization, the people who promised on camera, don't really shy away from it, that they will kill 50,000 Hindus. They're the ones who come in and teach your kids about diversity and tolerance and blah, 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 blah. They're lunatics. They're absolute lunatics. And they're Pakistani-backed lunatic traitors. They're traitors to Canada. They're traitors to India. They're traitors to the Sikh community. And I hate them all. Oh, except I am their king. So I am, just for the record, I am still the king of Khalistan because I'm not a bitch. And I will actually say that Lahore, which is part of Pakistan and the heart of their empire, they're trying to again, the other thing that's so stupid, the heart of the empire they're trying to recreate, most of it is in Pakistan. And they just ignore that part. They don't give a shit about trying to get any part of Punjabi Pakistan back, right? They're just pussies and they go after the Indian quadrant. That's why the Khalistanis don't like me, because I'm a white guy who knows what they're talking about, because I've been following this for years now. Like everything you're complaining about if you're Canadian, the housing crisis, mass migration, culture, like a lot of this, crime, all roads lead back to Khalistan. They are the chief infiltration point in a lot of things, or if the Muslim Brotherhood infiltrates, they come in behind them. And it's like all the bad ideologies that you hate. You hate communist China, then you have a problem with the Muslim Brotherhood. If you hate the Muslim Brotherhood, you have a problem with the CCP or this, because they're all working together. Like, you want to find, like, where's a lot of, I mean, I'm not sure if Kushal's told you how the economy in Canada is now propped up. When Trudeau came in, we were a resource economy, right? You had a husband, he went to go work on an oil rig, made good money because oil can be refined to energy. That's a real product. We have lumber, Canada's real energy products. That became racist, homophobic, anti-green energy. We went full Greta, right? No more resource economy. Shut that down. Well, how is our GDP continuing to go up and up and up and up and up? Money laundering and human trafficking. Most of it through the Punjab region, and all facilitated by the Khalistanis, where you get these kids, you trick them out of the Punjab, they become international students, and yeah, will some of them go to McGill? Maybe. Most of them go to a strip mall in Bangladesh where there's 4 schools in one classroom that offer one course online. Like, so you're a student, right? You come in here, you've been sort of exploited. You're told that, oh, you're getting a Canadian education. You think you're going to McGill. You end up going to a fake school. You pay tens of thousands of dollars a year to go to that fake school. You then have to find somewhere to live. So you get exploited, usually within your own community. So Punjabi landlords take advantage of Punjabis, where they'll work at a handshake deal in Punjabi, right? Where, 10 kids live in a basement, all paying $1,000 a month in rent, right? Or, I've heard of houses where they're paying, it's a bunch of students, like 20 students, they're paying like $25,000 a month in rent on a house in a decently nice neighborhood, but you can't afford $25,000 a month of rent at a home. Like, who can afford that? Like, even on a doctor's salary, could you afford $25,000 a month in rent on your house? No, these prices are absurd. But if you can exploit a bunch of people from mostly the Punjab region, you get them in there, and they're being exploited by their own people. They're being exploited by the Canadian system, right? They're paying tens of thousands of dollars a year, right, to get into these schools. Oh, look, the economy's booming because the education sector is booming, right? And then, oh, look, real estate's doing well. Yeah, because it's 20 Punjabi kids in a basement and they're paying for it. So that's why you're getting more money. Oh, why can't I find a house? Because you can't pay $20,000 a month to live in a basement like 20 kids from the third world can. And then they're getting more and more and more exploited. This is the LMIA thing where they end up paying to get below minimum wage jobs because they have to pay employers to give them this LMIA. And then employers, because they get subsidized by the federal government, you know, they go, oh, like we're going to hire, you know, foreign workers because the government subsidizes that. And we can exploit on the half of that, we can get these kids to pay $10, $15, $20, $25,000 for us to hire them. Why would you ever hire a Canadian if you get subsidized to hire a foreign worker, can pay them less, and force them to pay you $20,000 for the privilege of hiring them? Who's at the center of all of this? Khalistanis. Why? Because they bring kids into these shitty situations. They end up getting screwed here. Then they go, okay, you're going to get sent back to Canada because they were brought here on a false premise that, hey, you can stay in Canada. You can't, even though you sign it. Oh, there's ways to get around it. One way is you take a photo at these Khalistani rallies. You become a Khalistani. You then claim refugee status. Some Khalistani back in India says, oh, yes, his life is in danger. And boom, you're now under the sort of refugee protection program and under that. Or the Khalistani gangs, because a lot of Khalistanis from the, you know, Jat class are heavily involved in gang activity, right? And all the sort of, you know, Punjabi guys with the fancy cars, loitering at the mall, yelling at people. It's the gang life. How do you get people into gang life? Well, you manufacture a city situation from the kids from Punjab. You speak Punjabi, they come in from Punjab. You manufacture a system where they're completely exploited. They've given all their money to come to Canada, and then they're being exploited again to live in a basement with 10 other guys. And you go, hey, 20-year-old Punjabi, 20-year-old male kid, you want status? You want, like, again, what do 20-year-old men want? 20-year-old women. Are you going to be able to get a girlfriend if you're living in a house with a bunch of other guys in a basement? No girls coming over to.
How dare you insult the gay community? They just want men.
Okay, well, the gay, I mean, the sexually repressed ones.
I just had to do the Canadian bit.
I know, but then you go, oh, you want a way out of this? You want to make money? You want to be a real man? You want this? Okay, sling drugs, be part of this. You can now, now you're making money, right? Now you're making money. Now you can afford your own place because you've joined these Khalistani gangs. Now you're part of the system. Now you're at the top. Now you're at the top of the pyramid, the middle of the pyramid, exploiting the people below you. So that's the entire, you know, mass migration Khalistani system that we've got going on. And we've replaced oil, natural gas, and lumber with that bullshit and pretended and this is why Trudeau can go on Stephen Colbert and say, oh, the macro outlook of the economy is doing great because the GDP on a macro level is doing great. Yeah, on a macro scale, yes. If you fudge a lot of numbers, if you take human trafficking and money laundering and you just say, well, there's lots of money in it, that's good, then yeah, sure. But this is why Khalistan sucks.
So we just went around the world and back. I've got a lot of catching up on that, on what you just said. So we started off with the video of what was it? Threatening to kill
50,000 Hindus. And don't worry, I have received from the past. I'll show you actual articles from 1986, 1987. Don't worry, we'll go there.
Sure, like forgive my ignorance, right? Because I focus largely on, you know, issues at hand in the West. You know what I mean? And like
this is the biggest issue in the West, right?
Yeah,
now,
sure. Okay.
Okay.
I understand that, but I don't know the you know, the qualms between particular groups.
Okay, so how about this? Look at this image and react to this. This is what does the tweet say, Clyde? BC Conservatives are targeting public education and spreading disinformation about its resources, said BC Minister of Education Rachana Singh regarding SOGI. The debate forum Core's Vote was organized by the World Sikh Organization of Canada tonight at SFU's Surrey campus. It featured BC Conservative candidate for Langley Willowbrook Jodi Toor, independent candidate Daniel knows who this independent candidate is for Surrey Panorama, Dupinder Kaur Saran, and Surrey Newton NDP candidate Jesse Sunner discussing various issues of policies. This is an event organized by the World Sikh Organization. Clyde, try and understand. I just played you a video of what was
right. Are they in opposition to Soji? Is that
they are everywhere? They are everywhere. Every single I'm gonna say this. You have
I know a lot of parents are against Soji, and that's
so Pierre was with a lot of pride. I got two Sikh members in my own shadow cabinet.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take any names here, but Canadians, do some Google searching. Whose wife is connected to the World Sikh Organization?
Give
and
me a
is-
T. Give me an
Give me an
I.
I.
Give me an
Give me an
M.
M.
Give me a U.
Whose wife is connected to the World Sikh Organization and is a member of the Conservative Party and is very senior in the Conservative Party of Canada.
Someone might even say he's a deputy leader. I will say it. Right? So, yes, his wife is a member, an executive member of the WSO. That's the organization. And the WSO, they're in favor of Sochi. They're not in favor of Sochi. Listen, whatever pushes the cause, right? So it's the same thing with other, like why do you see, like, okay, the radical Islamists before October 7th, yeah, they were with the conservatives going, yeah, no sex education, this, and this, being very based, as we'd say it, right? Get this stuff out of our classrooms. October 7th happens. Then for the purpose of revolution, they all then rejoined the people they were protesting 5 minutes ago because, like, Israel's their new thing. This is how radicals work. Whatever pumps them up, whatever, they'll side with anyone to do anything because at the end of the day, you know, they have their cause. They don't care about anything outside of it. And I think that World Sikh Organization event was like...
No, but I want Clyde to give his views. So Clyde, now you understand the organization I'm talking about. So they are infiltrating every bit of your Canadian polity, including the Conservative Party. I don't care about... Listen, the WSO is officially sponsoring many events of JagMeet Singh. Till the extent, I think, Dan, has that event happened in October? The one we were tracking? Or it's about to happen? The one in this month, September, or in October, something was going to happen. JagMeet is being officially launched by WSO, by the way.
Yeah, I there's so many things happening, and I'm running around. Like all I know is that must have been pretty recent because Depinder was only kicked out of the Conservative Party recently. Again, this is the BC Conservative Party. That independent candidate used to be a Conservative MLA until she kind of got the boot from the party because, you know, she was attacking Hindus and whatever. But she's a hardcore, lifelong NDP socialist and like a I can't remember what her position was, but she worked with JagMeet Singh. She was like one of JagMeet Singh's close aides. So you had this close aide and associate of JagMeet Singh, you know, who is at a World Sikh Organization event, and she was running for the Conservative Party. Oh, how conservative is this woman, right? But it's, what hat do I wear right now to gain power? That's what it is for a lot of these people. And her when she got kicked out of the party, she did such a funny thing. She didn't get kicked out by her own thing. She pulled the "you can't fire me, I quit" thing, where, you know, she was claiming that she was being pushed out because of the BC United people coming back into the party. But this is JagMeet Singh's former aide. And on her way out the door, the Conservative Party said, "You're not real conservatives. You're basically liberals. I'm a real conservative," and walked out. It's like, dude, you work with JagMeet Singh. You can't pull the "I'm the real conservative" on this. But she did anyway. And that's what I love about these people, because, you know, you just commit to it. I love, you know, if you're going to be a liar, just
I love Clyde's expression right now. Clyde's like, what the fuck is happening in my country?
So no, I'm getting the gist of where you're going with this. That, you know, a particular group is trying to play all sides of the political game.
Exactly.
You know, just, you know, lip service to whatever cause each particular side, whether it's JagMeet Singh with his lip service to socialism. We all know he's quite the socialist because well, yeah, typically in socialist fashion, the leaders usually take up all the resources. That's typically how socialism fares. But all joking aside, yeah, he doesn't really represent. Well, he doesn't represent the working class. But I would argue also that socialists or Marxists in general, and James Lindsay just did a bullet point presentation recently to illustrate that they've abandoned the working class. That's not their target demographic anymore. It's when it comes to Marxists anyway, it's largely, you know, the academics or the upper middle class or even higher echelons of society. The proletariat are not interested in what the Marxists are trying to sell. Yeah.
Well, the workers rose up and united for workers. There you go.
Yeah, that's right. And people like JagMeet Singh were not particularly fans of that. But there were Sikhs in that, and I'm not sure where their stance was on Khalistan or the otherwise. But there was individuals.
I'll show it to you.
Oh, okay. Well, but there were Sikhs that came out and they were doing. From what I understand, Sikh have a tradition of feeding people on a particular day. That's just
I'm Punjabi, man. I know what my people do.
Yeah. So, well, I'm just saying, like, this is my understanding of what's happened. So during the Freedom Convoy, there was people in support of the Freedom Convoy. So that was definitely a thing. So I mean, as for, because you got into the thing about wanting to kill Hindus. I don't understand the motivation behind it. I have no clue.
I'll explain the motivation. I'll explain the motivation. So something very bad happened in India in the 1980s. Like, do you remember? I had in our first chat with Darshan on your channel. I had recommended two books, right? I want every Canadian to go back and revisit that first chat with Darshan, Kushal, and Clyde on your channel, on Clyde Do Something, and read those books, and you'll understand the entire movement, why and how there is a particular political outfit in India who basically created this leader whose name was Jarnail Singh Pindrawale. And I refuse to call him a sant because I don't think so. Jarnail Singh Pindrawale is a saint, although the Khalistanis call him sant, as in a saint. I refuse to call him that. He is an extremist, a terrorist who wanted to kill people. And Jarnail Singh Pindrawale and his story. And then that, honestly, he was a creation of Indira Gandhi, the then Prime Minister of India. And she wanted to win Punjab elections. And guess what? She basically created this man. And this is like the for North Americans, this is America creating Bin Laden to fight the Russians, and then Bin Laden turning up against the Americans and bombing the shit out of them.
Right.
India version.
So blowback, as the CIA talks about.
Yeah. So India creates Jarnail Singh Pindrawale. He used to do some obscure work in villages in Punjab. Lo and behold, they put him in the front and center of Punjabi politics, and then as they say, when shit hits the roof, everybody goes, oh, what are we going to do now? Jarnail Singh Pindrawale is a very dangerous man. And then they went into the Golden Temple, and as a Punjabi, I feel very hurt that the government went inside a place which I feel I had a lot of emotional attachment to. For people who don't understand, my ethnicity is from Amritsar, where the Gondal Temple is. Like, I can trace back my entire family for 400 years to Amritsar, my dad's side. All of them were in Amritsar for 400 years. So it's a very emotional thing for us. And I don't forgive the Indian government for what happened in the Golden Temple either. But so should no well-meaning Punjabi not forgive Jarnail Singh Pindrawale to bring arms and ammunition inside a place of worship, digging tunnels up, connecting things, killing people, rapes happening, body bags being found outside. And I'm going to share a lot of information today for Canadian viewers, which are going to be very disturbing. And I want to play this clip again of Jarnail Singh Pindrawale, where he says a lot of nice things, let's just say. This is Jarnail Singh Pindrawale saying, there was a bus that was taken over by the government at that time, and this was his response. Again, Puneet has shared this on Twitter, so I'm playing directly from Puneet's handle.
80,000 ਦੀ ਜੀਪ ਦਿੱਤੀ 50 ਪਿਆਰਿਆਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਸਿੱਖ ਨੇ 17 ਜੁਲਾਈ ਨੂੰ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਸਾਲ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਨੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਸਬੰਧ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਿੰਘ ਫੜੇ ਸੀ ਜੰਗੀਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਅਜਾਇਬ ਸਿੰਘ ਮੰਗਲ ਸਿੰਘ ਅਮਰੀਕ ਸਿੰਘ ਤੇ ਸਾਰਾ ਸਿੰਘ ਉਹ ਸਿੰਘ ਅੱਜ ਸਟੇਜ ਤੇ ਬੈਠਿਆ ਜੀਪ ਥਾਣੇ 'ਚ 3 ਲੱਖ ਦੀ ਬੱਸ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਨੇ ਪ੍ਰਚਾਰ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਸਤਿਕਾਰਯੋਗ ਮੇਰੇ ਪਿਤਾ ਸਦਰਥ ਮਹਾਂਪੁਰਖ ਬ੍ਰਹਮ ਗਿਆਨੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਨੌਜਵਾਨੀ ਉਮਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਿਛੋੜਾ ਦੇ ਕੇ ਪਰਾਲਬਧ ਦੇ ਮੁਤਾਬਕ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਬਜ਼ੁਰਗ ਮਾਤਾ ਲਾਭ ਕੌਰ ਜੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਲੈਣ ਜਾਈਏ ਝੀਂਡ ਵਾਲੇ ਮੁਕਤਸਰ ਤੋਂ ਤੇ ਜ਼ਾਲਮ ਹਕੂਮਤ ਉਹ ਨਵੀਂ ਬੱਸ ਨੂੰ ਪਕੜ ਕੇ ਤੇ ਮੁਕਤਸਰ ਤੋਂ ਲਿਆ ਕੇ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਜੀ ਸਾਲ ਥਾਣੇ 'ਚ ਖੜੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਰਹੇ। ਹੁਣ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਪੁੱਛਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜੀ ਇਹ ਗਲਤ ਬੋਲਦਾ ਜੀ ਇਹ ਗਰਮ ਬੋਲਦਾ ਇੰਨਾ ਵਾਧਾ ਹੋਣ ਤੋਂ ਪਿੱਛੋਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਜੇ ਸਾਡੀ ਬੱਸ 5 ਵਜੇ ਨੂੰ ਨਾ ਛੱਡੀ ਤੇ 5000 ਹਿੰਦੂਆਂ ਨੂੰ 1 ਘੰਟੇ 'ਚ ਵੱਢਾਂਗਾ।
If you don't leave that bus, 5,000 Hindus will be killed in 1 hour. This was Sellout Singh, Pindranwale.
What's the purpose of this?
Hindus have nothing to do. It's because they think
I don't understand it.
Indian state in their eye was a Hindu state, and hey, what the hell? I shared a detailed op-ed from 1990s with Daniel yesterday, so that Daniel see, people don't understand the level of barbarism that has happened in Punjab. There is not even a single family member. I don't know if there are Punjabis watching this right now. Please try and explain to everyone else in this live stream. Do you have a family member who was kidnapped, shot at, beat up during the 80s, mid 80s to the mid 90s in Punjab or not? I don't know one person who did not go through it. In my entire extended friends and family circle, it doesn't matter if they're Hindu, they're Sikh, they're Christian, they're Muslim, or they're an atheist Punjabi. Every single Punjabi has a sob story. Every single Punjabi has a sob story to share. And the level of barbarism that has been, oh my God. I mean, as I was researching for this podcast, I started digging up my old archives, because I have old articles that I have shared from Punjab for Punjab. There is, at that time, I have articles that are in Hindi, that are in Punjabi, and are in English. I'm not going to share the Hindi and Punjabi ones, but I want to share some English ones, so that the only reason I'm doing this, Clyde, is so that people understand what level of violence India has seen, and why I keep warning people in Canada about what level of violence you could see, because this lot will not stop. And this is why, because I care for people. That's the only reason I'm sharing. So this is an archive.
Well, and this is the thing about our immigration policy that's just so absurd. I mean, for forever, I mean, the longest time in Canadian history, our immigration, especially when it comes to Asia, all kinds of places, has always been that of merit. You coming over with this or that skills that we require here in Canada. It's only recently that this kind of influx of people with other reasons to be here are even here.
Oh, they were always there.
Oh, they were always there.
Oh, they were always there. They were just not in the spotlight. Trust me.
Like it's about like what you. So listen, are some crazy is going to always get through the cracks? Sure, but we've taken this attitude where it's like we're not even looking anymore. So they can just
they don't even do police checks.
They don't even do police checks. I mean, like, if you look at the Air India bombing, that's the worst terrorist attack in Canadian history. And the Parmar, the architect of it, a friend of mine went to BC to do that. He went into a bunch of Gurdwaras in Abbotsford. The first 3 he went into, all of them had pictures on the wall with Parmar's picture on the wall. The worst terrorists. Like, it's like, could you imagine? I mean, mosques would never do this because faces, but like, could you imagine going into a mosque in America and seeing Osama bin Laden's picture up as a hero and a martyr? That would get shut down instantly. But we just, politicians just walk into these Gurdwaras and shake hands and are none the wiser. They're not thinking of this. And listen, the troubles in Punjab were dealt with in the 90s. It was incredibly bloody. The Khalistanis turned Punjab into a outright totalitarian terror state, just a war zone for 10 years where it was just civilians caught in the crossfire. And they did this, and they're very proud of it. And a lot of the Gurdwaras here in Brampton or in Abbotsford or whatever will talk about the glorious martyrs and the glory days and how great this all was. But what we're talking about is roaming bands of militants coming and taking your stuff and making you pledge allegiance to, like, Khalistan, their thing, and just being caught crossing the fire. And they go into your house, and if you don't let them use your house to have a shootout with the cops, they shoot you first. So you just have to put your family in the middle of a shootout in hopes that they survive, because if you don't do that, you don't act as a human shield, the Khalistanis would execute on the spot. This is what I had to deal with for 10, 15 years there. Then all these people started coming to the West after Khalistan was done and tried to rebuild Khalistan here because we don't have any immunity to it, because they got away with the Air India bombing. They got away with it. They blew up an airplane in Canada. We fumbled it. We didn't even have people. We could have stopped it. We didn't. The RCMP chose not to get a translator who could speak Punjabi to monitor the Khalistanis, even though one was available. Like, it was a failure across the board, a travesty of justice. And they learned they can get away with whatever they want. They can get away with blowing up. If they can get away with blowing up an airplane here, where's the line? Yeah. Right? Yeah. So we've sent this message to them, and they're just going to push harder and harder and harder and harder. And I have no problem if someone from Punjab immigrates to Canada, right? As long as you fill out the forms, wait on the thing, whatever. But part of it is I don't want any radical Islamists. I don't want any communists. I don't want any neo-Nazis. I don't want any Khalistanis. I want normal people coming to the country, and we have no standards whatsoever. And they've learned they can get away with blowing up an airplane. Can they get away with praising the people who blow up an airplane? Yeah. Can they get away with starting their own radio stations to promote their own terrorist propaganda? Yeah. And they get more. Can we start an immigration fraud scheme? Sure. Can we start, like, basically, can we just take control of the immigration system and call everyone racist if they disagree with us? You can do that, right? And they've learned that as long as they keep their racism and absolute lunacy to Punjabi, and then they learn the trick that the Muslim Brotherhood invented and everyone uses now. In your own language, say whatever you want. Say what you really mean. Death, kill, 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 kill. Then in English, say peace, love, friendship, racism, tolerance, humanity. We're just here. And then go back to Punjabi, Arabic, whatever it is, and go full death to America. And if we keep letting these people in the country, like, listen, India dealt with this, and it was so bloody. Like, tens of thousands of people died and lived under a terrorist
state. The official count is 24,000. And the reality is it is far more. Innocent Hindu, Sikh, policemen, innocent citizens have passed away. And just to give you guys a trailer, and the offer is open. Anybody who wants these PDFs from me, you are free to email me at contact@kushalmehra.com. And I will forward you each and every article about the horror each and every Punjabi went through. The things I'm about to show you are in the archives. This is by Tavleen Singh, a great Sikh journalist of India, June 15th, 1986. This is the horror Hindus went through. Official sources say some 500 families have migrated, but unofficial sources put the figure between twice and 10 times that figure. Many more Hindu families would have fled, but for the fact that they cannot find buyers for the properties and leaving their ancestral homes in an emotional wrench, but with terrorists shooting down 10 Hindus in Amritsar last fortnight. It will surprise nobody if the trickle out of Punjab turns into an exodus. The migration to Haryana came to public notice when 14 Punjabi Hindu families from Trenor Fatehbad village in Amritsar district arrived bag and baggage in the nondescript Brahmin Sabha Dharamshala in the industrial township of Karnal. This is just one article, and I can go article after article after article that was reported at that time by responsible Indian journalists. And if people think, oh, it is just the Hindus that suffered. This is the same article, right? This is the same article that says this. I'm going to read it for you. One Sikh who appealed to them, the terrorists, not to kill innocent people, was also shot dead after being told, quote, "There's no place for Hindu lovers." The next day, AISSF leader Harjinder Singh Kahlon issued a statement saying he could not mourn for those who were killed in Krishan Nagar because, quote, none of them were innocent. In the Golden Temple, which is barely 5 minutes away, other AISSF youths maintained that those killed were Shiv Sena activists. Try and understand. When a Sikh sympathized with the death of innocent people, because Hindus and Sikh people are one. They don't hate each other. Sikh people in India go to temples. Hindu people in India go to gurdwaras. It's a very common practice. Marrying between Hindu and Sikh girls and boys is very common in Punjab. It's a very normal thing. We marry, in each other's houses. This movement, Khalistan, was the most bloody movement. And I'm not giving the Indian state a free pass. I'm not. But the point is, this was the bloodiest thing that India ever witnessed. And you guys are giving these guys a free run in Canada. It's insane, the level of violence that that people have witnessed in Punjab. And it's article after article. So anybody who wants to, I repeat, you can send me an email. I'll send you the articles. You guys can read and understand the trauma that every single Punjabi has gone through. But this is not what I wanted to show. My question was, what is the Conservative Party of Canada doing? And I don't know what Daniel's view on this is, but I have a problem. I have a question. These 4 politicians, they're all conservative, right, Daniel? Am I making it up? These are all conservative?
Khalistan ISI, yeah.
I have a question. Can somebody give me a single statement made by these 4 people? Arpan Khanna, Tim Uppal, Muhammad Ishaq, Jasraj Hallan. Can you show me a single statement by any of these 4 criticizing Khalistan?
No,
Single
I
statement.
wouldn't know. I'd have to look that up.
It's an open challenge to anybody who shows me a single statement by these 4 particular members of parliament criticizing Khalistan. Just saying, this is the Conservative Party of Canada. I don't give a shit. Okay, the Liberals suck. The NDP sucks. What about the Conservative Party of Canada? Just a simple question. So let's see what Tim Uppal did, right? I'm going to share a few pictures of Tim Uppal's tweets. Very interesting, eh? Very interesting guy. And you know, they always say the same language. It's fascinating. All the people, they tweet out in unison, eh? All of them. Everything is in unison.
Yep.
Every time. Everything is in unison. They will never tweet anything out of sync. Tim Uppal is a fascinating person. So a while ago, Tim Uppal, last year there was, or the year before, there was a temple that was vandalized in Toronto, Canada. And to my surprise and my wonder, I was like, why isn't anybody in the Conservative Party of Canada tweeting about it? I mean, at least they should. But, well, okay, Tim did eventually. But something very interesting happened. So this is Tim Uppal's tweet. Saddened to see the vandalism on BAP's Toronto Mandir. Notice he shares the photo that says Murdabad. That means basically down, down, or boo, boo, and, you know, something of that sort. Right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
He cropped this image. What was written on the left side of the gate is the most important bit. Daniel, what was written on the left side of the gate?
Peace, friendship, American values, or Khalistan. I can't remember.
Yeah. So this Murdabad, the left side had Hindustan Murdabad, that is India, but they had also written Khalistan Zindabad. That means go Khalistan, down with India. Now, why would Tim Uppal not share the entire image is something I've always wondered about. Why, Tim? Why?
I have a theory.
I don't know, Dan. Are you sure? Maybe Tim just, Tim did not get the right image. Maybe Tim did not get the right image, Dan.
Maybe this could be just a silly misunderstanding, this and there. But no, this is like, again, that's your smoking gun if you're looking at it. Like, again, this is
the image I'm talking about, guys.
Yeah.
This is the image. Why didn't Tim tweet this out? Yeah. Khalistan Zindabad. Interesting, eh? Very interesting. Fascinating, isn't it? Try and understand Conservative Party members or voters, Conservatives of Canada. These leaders are inside the Conservative Party of Canada. That's all I'm saying.
And my
made a very nice video on immigration, and he was criticizing immigration. I just have a nice question of Arpan. Arpan is a Hindu, right? Arpan, what is your view on Khalistan? Can Arpan, the lawyer from Brampton, talk about Khalistan once? Can Arpan do that?
And like, listen, my fear is why conservatives should care about like this. Yeah, the NDP is fully infiltrated with Khalistan, their leader. The Liberals, their Trudeau's cabinet, hardcore Khalistanis. And it was the hardcore Khalistanis, along with, some Muslim Brotherhood and some just general corruption. And again, they created this BS immigration system. Well, okay, we explain. bringing people in, the student visa stuff, all this stuff, all roads lead back to Khalistan. And they all have financial stakes in this, and they all have ideological stakes in this. If you want the Conservative Party to clean up mass migration, to get rid of these human trafficking sites called universities that are fake universities in a strip mall in Brampton, if you want to get rid of this, if the deputy leader and the shadow minister of finance, or the minister of finance and the new deputy leader, if they have some, like, are they going to be fully motivated to reform the things we want to reform? Those are the questions I ask, because again, if they're in bed with the other Khalistanis who brought this system in, what are the odds that they're going to be the ones to clean it up? That's my fear. Is we can all just say, like, oh, the different radicals, oh, Khalistani, CCP, oh, who cares? I just want to care about Canada. So do I. But we have to be realistic with the fact that we have lunatics in Canada with lunatic ideologies. And in order to save Canada, we have to, confront them here on our soil. Because Khalistan's no longer in India. It's no longer an Indian problem. They nearly 100,000 of them died to get rid of it. It was bloody. And now it's here. What are we going to do about it? It's a Canadian issue now. Like, we've created an Indian separatist movement in Canada outside of India that's not even alive in India. This is how ridiculous our country is. And listen, again, there's other things. You might have your pet thing, maybe your thing of the jihadis or the CCP or the Russians or whoever else. But again, they all are connected. Any foreign radical who hates our country, they're all work together. Because if you vote for a politician who's connected to the CCP, I guarantee you they vote in favor with the Islamic Republic of Iran. They vote in favor with whatever Muslim Brotherhood interest, and they vote in favor with the Khalistanis. All of that against your interests. And it's all the same. Because if you could be corrupted by one of these lunatics, you end up getting corrupted by all of them. That's...
Oh, it doesn't end here. Clyde, I apologize to you, and I'm going to give you at least 20 minutes to speak, but I want to share so much evidence with you so that nobody accuses you of not coming up with evidence, Clyde. By habit, I share evidence before I speak. So Mocha did a good job here. So Mocha says in his tweet, at first glance, you might think this is a liberal candidate due to the red and white color choice. However, it is actually a conservative nomination candidate for Malton, Mississauga, advertising at a religious parade where Dilawar Singh, a human bomb, who killed Punjab's chief minister along with 12 others and injured 23 more, is being glorified as a martyr. How does that make you feel as a Conservative Party voter, ladies and gentlemen? This is a Conservative Party candidate. Now, do you understand infiltration? Do you guys understand the level of the infiltration? I've not even started yet.
We haven't even started. Okay, we haven't started.
I think we've scratched the surface. Listen, there's an iceberg.
Mm-hmm.
You want to, you want to see something horrifying? Again, look at how Canada's economy has been propped up under Justin Trudeau. It will shake you to your core. Like, we've been in a recession for like 5 years now. We get to pretend we're not in one because the GDP is increasing because of human trafficking and money laundering schemes that we call an economy.
Well, just population. So, I mean, if you look at GDP per capita, our economy is in recession, has been in recession for some time. Yeah, you can cook the numbers by bringing in more people. Now, I think a lot across the board, a lot of these MPs, they know little of any of this stuff, and they probably care little of any of it either. So many people get into politics for all the wrong reasons, and they try to stay in for, again, all the wrong reasons. And the thing is, all they really care about is poll numbers. All they care about is where's the consensus going, and how can I get on the right side of the poll numbers. And unfortunately, that's the case. And we have to play the game as people who are navigating the other side of the political landscape in that way. The reason why that they're even talking about immigration right now is because of the alarm bells we've been banging. People like Kushal coming on the channel, people like Darshan coming on the channel, me and Marty talking about it once a week, me doing reports on people upset about these things, learning about the United Nations even declaring that they've found human trafficking and what's akin to modern day slavery, indentured servitude within Canada, utilizing the Canadian immigration system. So where are we at with this? Well, we get their attention when we bring the stories to the forefront. As long as their propaganda piece works, it's status quo. Just keep going the way it's going. No problem. Just whatever. But if you bring these stories to the forefront, this is what causes the pressure for change to happen, because these people are self-interested. You think they wouldn't sell out on Khalistan in 2 seconds? They would, just like that, if they thought that the political sea change was largely unpopular against it. And this is what's happening in Canada. People are turning around. I mean, it wasn't even it wasn't very long ago where I was looking at it going, what in the heck is happening? Why are these all these cars coming down the road? And then I bring Darshan on the show, and I'm like, why do these people, are they trying the referendum? Are they trying to make a Khalistan in Canada? This is what Canadians think when they see that. They don't understand that this is some regional issue in some other country on the other side of the planet. They think, are these people trying to create like is this like a new like movement to create a new territory within Canada? No, it's not. And people don't know this. And like I said, people are starting to catch on, because now we're hearing stories about possible political assassinations on Canadian soil. We're hearing stories about a growing movement of people who are known as terrorists in a foreign country, but we're harboring them here. What is going on? All of these stories about acts of violence, encouraging violence, all of that. And yeah, it's people talking about these that's gonna get the politicians to change their mind, and not because they have some principle that they stand on. And I think this goes largely across the board. Doesn't matter what political party you think is the good party or your favorite party. They're all the same. And yes, you might have some actors in government that are principled. You know, like I think the guys like Larry Brock, for example, he's principled, and he puts extra time into these these committees and all this other stuff. Does that mean that every one of the conservative members are principled and they won't just go along with go along to get along, so that they can get possibly a seat at the table down the road, let alone getting reelected again? So I don't know. It may sound cynical, but I just don't think that a lot of these people have a backbone in government. And this is why largely things like this can come up into our government, can infiltrate and have such large influence. But we can take that influence away by shining a light on it. I think that's a real possibility.
No, I think you're 100% right. Like that is, there's no deterrence. These people have never faced any deterrence, and they've been running through our institutions because, again, they do it all in a foreign language, and it's all been foreign language, whatever politics. And we just kind of ignored it until they kind of got control of the system. And then, we went from 30 million Canadians to 40 million Canadians in a high blink, and no one can afford a house. Jobs are being overrun. We have rampant crime in areas that weren't there before. Like, last Canada, we had the Khalistani guy trying to run over a cop car in Tim Hortons, like literally run over a cop. Like, what in the third world is this? And you would never think you'd see scenes like that in Canada growing up. Everyone think, oh, that's some crazy American stuff, or like.
But I gotta do a little bit of pushback here. So, like, because of the perverse incentive with the Khalistani movement, how many people are actually genuine to the cause, or they do it just for the? Okay, hear me out. So if you come to Canada and your visa expires, or you're no longer granted an extension on your visas, but through this loophole of saying I'm a Khalistani, therefore I can't go back to India, you get some sort of status, a protected status as a refugee, what have you. How many people are going along just to get along and just using that as an excuse, but don't think Khalistani, don't do the Khalistani stuff? How many do you think that factors in?
It's hard to say. Maybe Coach can do it better because it's in the community. Like, you have to understand, like, the Khalistan cause is not like, let's say, radical Islamist cause, because like the radical Islamists, like, there is some Islamic doctrine that they're following, and like there are sort of true believers. Whereas the Khalistan doctrine is like, if you open the Sikh holy book and you just start reading, right? You don't get to Khalistan, right? This is
no. In fact, my understanding is the home place of Khalistan, or the home place of Sikh, is in Pakistan.
Exactly.
And
Have
the
you ever heard
Khalistanis are
them
not actually even
criticize
looking.
Pakistan? Have you ever heard them criticize Pakistan?
Exactly.
Well,
So like,
no, and that's kind of what I'm getting at. It seems more like a political movement than it does a principled religious movement. If you get what I'm saying.
Like you're right, and like I'm just trying to explain. Like once you understand the Khalistan issue and like you get the history behind it, and then you talk to a Khalistani, it's the stupidest movement you've ever heard. So like, are any of them really true believers? Because they're all idiots who believe like the first sentence contradicts the second sentence, contradicts the third sentence. None of it really makes any sense. The Khalistan movement, you break it down, but there is like the true believer in this case. Like, let's be honest, it's this sort of like hyper machismo culture of like, come at me, bro. Literally, like, you know, the take
JagMeet Singh just outside of Parliament
right?
on a Tuesday.
Right, there is a noble
That actually epitomizes the Khalistani mind. Daniel is right, and we will deal with "come at me, bro" too. Don't take this lightly. Understand the Punjabi mind. I keep insisting. Right now, it's gone on the under, is because I think India did a really good job at suppressing it in India. There was peace and tranquility in Canada because India dealt with it in a very efficient manner inside India. And because there is virtually no support for it in India. All the Khalistani affiliated parties barely get X percentage of votes. And no matter how much they try, they don't go beyond a certain percentage. And the last Pew poll indicated 95% of Indian Sikhs are actually very happy in India and they love India. And they think being anti-India is the worst thing you can do. Pew polls, please, ladies and gentlemen, go and check them. Don't trust me. You'll obviously trust white man polls. So, ladies and gentlemen, please go and check white man poll. But that's not the point here. Like this one. So here's Pierre. Pierre is over here. This is the same Gurdwara that Pierre, Tim Uppal, Jasraj Hallan, and Bob Dosanjh, who is a candidate, have recently visited. This is the same Gurdwara that did the May 5th parade. This is Reading Mocha, where there was glorification of violence, and all sorts of things. My question is that even if you guys come, listen, if Canadians need jobs, right? Canadians can't live an isolated life and generate jobs. India is a number 9 trading partner. You want to have trade with India. The key Indo-Canadian relations were at its best under Prime Minister Harper. They were at its best. But do you know one policy Prime Minister Harper had that Pierre has broken? And I like Pierre. I'm someone who's actually very fond of Pierre. Do you know there is one policy that Prime Minister Harper had? He would never go to a Gurdwara, mosque, or a church that would peddle extremism. Prime Minister Harper would not go. And then Prime Minister Harper left the Conservative Party of Canada, and all hell has broken loose since then. And Pierre doesn't follow that code.
Literally, because Harper founded like the new Conservative Party, the formation of the Reform and Conservative, and became the new Conservative Party, and that kind of became, Harper's baby, and he led it like effective leadership. And Harper's greatest flaw, we're starting to see it, his biggest mistake. You could say China and this and that, but he didn't groom a successor. That when Harper went down, there wasn't. It was kind of open season in the party, and then the dark money and the foreign interest groups got in. Let's just look at what happened. And you saw Maxime. You two did a great thing where Clyde. I clicked in on the thing, and you were explaining the milk mafia and the good old Maxime days. Where I get 20s. I was totally in the milk. Like the dairy industry in the country drives me nuts, right? But now you have sort of special interest, and that was milk. But then you see the O'Toole campaign, and that was why did the Conservatives invite? Why was the leader diet Justin Trudeau for a couple of years? Because again, we sell out to all these different groups, and again, Harper was smart. And this is something Conservatives have to learn. Only the left can pull this sort of empty multicultural thing where you go into any mosque, gurdwara, synagogue, church, you say the same speech, diversity is our strength, blah, blah, blah. Because if someone believes in leftism, you can say that, oh, we're here to fight racism. Nebulous. the only thing that works in conservatives, if you want to outreach other communities, is we will treat you like individuals, right? The Conservative Party, you can have religious freedom, but everyone should be Canadian and strive to Canadian values, and anyone, no matter what color, that has ideological similarities and is pro-Canada can come in, right? But you can't just go around as the Conservatives and do this nebulous little diversity talk, go into a mosque, go into a church, go into a synagogue, go into a Gurdwara, all of them fighting with each other, sit there and say, yes, diversity is our strength. Because if you're going to do that, they'll just vote Liberals because they actually believe it. If you want to actually gain support, you actually have to come in with, like, here are our values. And then many Sikhs, Muslims, Jews, whatever, will come under those values. But the general mass appeal of, like, oh, just say diversity, equity, and inclusion, it doesn't ever work for conservatives. It doesn't work politically. Yes, you say it, and the CBC doesn't criticize you for a day if you say the prayer, but they don't gain any votes. Sometimes they gain money, right? If these organizations have tons of foreign funding, they might pay all sides, right? This is where, like, JagMeet Singh gets totally screwed over by the Liberals. The NDP stuff is so funny because JagMeet will different, like, and the Conservatives too, will go in front of, like, these hardcore Muslim Brotherhood organizations, and then they'll go this, and then the leaders of these organizations will come out and say, you don't need to vote for anyone, vote Liberal. We have the Liberals. Yes, bring everyone else into the mosque and string them along. They'll get up and say this, sometimes in English. They'll say, bring them in, we'll string them along, but we have the Liberals. We don't need the NDP. We don't need the Conservatives. They've been saying, like, we have the Liberals. So everyone vote Liberal. They're ours. And then, but give money. They'll say, give money to the other political organizations so they like us, right? They'll say this. They'll say this out loud. And then the Conservatives, the NDP will still come to their institutions and still come because everyone's so afraid to get out of this mindset of, like, we must appeal to everyone. It's like, no. If you go into a Khalistani Gurdwara, you're going to lose Hindus. Why? Because the organization that supports them wants to kill 50,000 Hindus. Hindus don't like being killed. In fact, no one does, right? You cannot go into...
I'd go out on a limb and say that's true, yeah.
Right? You can't go into, like, Christians. Canada's a very Christian country. You cannot start shaking hands with someone who is intellectualizing the burning down of churches and saying, oh, Christians should get over with it, right? If Pierre Poilievre tries to win this person over, a bunch of Christians, because what I know about Christians is they don't like their churches being burned down. Sort of. Well,
you're seeing this also with the radical left engaging with the these Palestinian protests, but it's largely hijacked, just like Black Lives Matter has been hijacked. They're coming in, they're spouting the most radical things, and somehow it's always about Marxism. I don't know. Last time I checked it, the Ayatollahs aren't trying to bring Marxism into the Islamic world, but this is a thing that they can bring in a lot of these lefties as just a contentious issue. It's getting out on the street. It's just subjecting people to threats of violence. And in Canada, I mean, Jewish communities are experiencing this. And I don't care what your stance is on foreign conflicts, but if you come to people's neighborhoods, you're not going to the embassy of Israel. You're going to Jewish neighborhoods and harassing Jewish people. That's wrong. And we should all be against that, no matter what the contention or the subject matter is. You can't do that. You're harassing citizens in the country. Not good. Not okay.
No, it's exactly. And again, once you say it's okay to do to one group, it's going to happen to every other group. Like, again, I understood a couple of years ago when I saw those churches going up in fire that this is going to translate, because Jerry Butts and Justin Trudeau says it's understandable. That's going to become a synagogue. Now, synagogues have had armed security since I was a kid, so it's going to be a bit harder. But they'll try. That's going to be synagogues and Hindu temples because the church burning is okay, right? Why do I get so upset when Khalistanis vandalize temples?
Because the attacks on the Hindu temples. BAPS Edmonton vandalized July 7th. July 28th, Canadian City Council, somebody glorifies a man who threatened to kill 40,000 Hindus.
It's not white nationalists attacking the Hindu temples. We all might think that it's a bunch of these evil white nationalist diagolon fools online going, oh, stinky Indians, let's vandalize their temples. Like,
yeah, those guys are idiots, but they're not hurting anyone really.
No, they're not.
Right?
Not at the moment.
If they were the ones vandalizing the temples, we would be doing something about it. But it's Khalistanis.
This is just 22, 23, 24 that we have managed to get details of. It's listen, they don't even let an average Hindu pray peacefully anymore in Canada. I'm saying this with all seriousness. A Hindu is scared to go to the temple in Canada. I'll give you 2 stories of why I am driven to do what I do. This was the first time I incidentally, I think this was the first time I met Daniel. No, this was before that. So there was a small Hindu girl, 8-year-old and 10-year-old, who came to me in my first ever talk in Canada 2.5, 3 years ago. And she asked me to speak with her alone, not in front of her father. And then I was like, I took the father's permission, sat the girl down, and I was like, okay, go ahead, tell me. And she's like, I'm scared to go to school because I'm Hindu. That was my first time. And then last year, my wife's best friend, who's a white person, her daughter, we were just having a common discussion. I see so many Indians. And she just goes across the table and whispers in her mother's ear something. And the mother says, yeah, you can say that. All she wanted to say is yes. And I was like, this society is broken, where a white girl can't just say yes to a brown man that, yes, I see too many brown people. And a brown girl is scared to go to a temple. This society is messed up. I don't care if you're a white kid, a brown kid, or any kind of kid. What the hell? I mean, Hindus don't go to their temple because they feel threatened. Jews can't go to their synagogues because some intifada-loving jackass is going to go and do something. And then we have, oh, come at me, bro. Come at me, bro. I mean, what the hell, man?
What I see is foreign regional conflicts coming to Canada, and like at some point Canada has to just put its foot down and say enough, no more of this, no more foreign regional conflicts on our soil. Whether it's, what was it, a couple of years ago, it was some African groups there in
Tigray,
I believe it's
Ethiopian stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing. Listen, I can at least similar. 2.5 million people died in that war.
No, I didn't know. No, I didn't know that. 2.5
million people died. And again, other than the specific ethnic group there marching around, no one really gave a shit, right? It's all pushed by foreign interests. Like, listen, I'm okay with Tigrayan people. Like, your people are getting massacred somewhere else. You want to protest? That's your Canadian right. You can get up there. But what we have to understand is, like, there are certain issues, the Palestine issue, for one, right? The Khalistan issue, right? That are astroturfed in our society and pushed by bad actors, and we then use them to radicalize. So, again, you want to say, hey, my family back in Ethiopia and Tigray, they're getting slaughtered by the government forces. They're caught in between an Ethiopian government and an Eritrean government, and like the politics of East Africa, mind blowing. Like it's all warlords and. The best I can tell you is Ethiopia is trying to get a port right now through Djibouti, like that's, or through Somalia, whatever. You can protest, but we see the fact that it's when foreign influence is pushing these protests, when it's not Canadians, right? When there's money coming in from Iran and Russia and China funneling these things, that has to be cut out. And then once people start breaking the laws, we should take them off. Like, listen, you want to go up and down, even march on the street and say, free Tigray, I support this side, fine. But the second you go on and you start saying, hey, I'm calling for violence and ethnic cleansing here in Canada, just take them out. Cut off
I'm sorry, but seriously though, like what good does it do to protest in the streets amongst a bunch of Canadians that don't even know the regional conflicts across the planet? What is the point?
Well, the point of these protests last year, as stated by Hamas and the people organizing them.
No, but the hypothetical free Tigray or whatever place
the point.
that you're talking about.
Listen, there are ways. Like, if you're effective with it, you want to push the government to say something, right? If the Canadian government says at the UN that Ethiopians have gone too far, right, it puts international pressure, and then it might, and then, you hope that the president of Ethiopia gets on and says, all right, guys, let's do less collateral damages. Make sure you don't, okay, let's have less civilian deaths. Keep it to military. That's what you kind of hope. Or hope to negotiate a ceasefire. Like, listen, you want to advocate for Canada to take different foreign policy positions? Like, there's a way to do it. But what you have on the streets right now is just chaos for the sake of creating chaos, where they see themselves as part of the resistance, and they will create as much chaos here for Canada until they get their way. And their way is they want Israel to be destroyed, which is Canada doesn't have the ability to do it. And like I keep saying, you cannot appease.
This is my point. What is the purpose? What is the purpose? And this is what needs to be asked. I mean, like, so I grew up in Windsor, Ontario. Lots of people who came over in the 80s and 90s from Lebanon. War-torn place, terrible situations they were put through. They came over. I never once saw them protesting against what was happening in Lebanon. Never once. They came over. They became Canadians. They'll tell you their stories if you ask them. You know, if you're talking to them about it, but they're not going out and telling everybody, raising awareness to everybody. They're grateful that the nation of Canada let them in, and they're happy with their new lives. That's the real story. So what's the real purpose behind? And you know, yeah, you're right. It's their free speech, and they can do whatever they want. But my question is, why? Why are you trying to drum something up over here? Especially if there's like, again, with that African group. There's this people on the other side in the same vicinity, and you're having your event, and then you're causing a conflict. You're furthering the conflict rather than getting away from it.
I'll explain.
I mean, like, listen, I'll say on this, like, the fun, like, why are the lefties on the streets right now? To push their own causes. It's not about Israel. It's not about Palestinians. There's a bunch of radical Marxists in the streets.
That's why my question was half rhetorical in that sense, right?
And then there's some jihadis in the street, the Muslim Brotherhood, who've always used the cause of Palestine to push their Muslim Brotherhood philosophy into the West. So the jihadists are trying to push their ideology under the guise of Palestine, and the Marxists are trying to push their ideology under the guise of Palestine. That's the purpose of this, is to infiltrate their radical set ideologies into the Canadian system and have people capitulate to them. And the Muslim Brotherhood doesn't care about Canada. They have a handbook written in 1991 outlining their pathway to destroying Western civilization and how to do it. They have a whole handbook on how to undermine our system and what to say, how to use multiculturalism, how to use the concept of interfaith, how to do this, how to push a thing,
and it just so happens that there's another group of people of the critical theory in Marxism that have the same goals. Maybe they don't have the same ends in mind, but yes, they have the exact same goal.
It's not
and
as
that's
simple as that. What you said is not as simple as that. I'll give you an example. First of all, the world doesn't live in isolation. For example, the Western Bloc, right? Now, America decided I'm not saying that the American invasion of Iran, Iraq, or anything else was justified or not justified. I'm not talking about that. But America did invade Afghanistan, right? And it was not just America. It was the entire Western Bloc that went and sent troops, including Canada. So it's not like Canada does not do these things either. They go in other nations. They take part in different affairs too. So you cannot say that when these people come here, people don't leave their lives behind. That is point number one. And it's not like these countries that they come to, they are isolationists. No country on planet Earth is isolationist. You just can't live in an isolationist foreign policy landscape, whether it's America, whether it's India, whether it's Canada, whether it's the United Kingdom, or any country for that matter. You just can't be isolationist because it's not possible. We trade with each other. We have pushes and pulls in these things. So people are going to protest on the streets. My answer to your question would be different. The nature of politics has changed, Clyde. The left and the functioning of the left globally has changed. The left, which used to be, let's say, of Bill Clinton, right? The Clinton Democrats are no longer the Democratic Party of what Joe Biden runs. It's a very different political outfit. That's the point. And the left now knows that if we pander to groups, because human beings are tribal, it's very basic evolutionary psychology. All of us are tribal. Some of us are less tribal because we have been able to control our tribal instincts, which are through our evolutionary priming in a better way. Some don't. Some piggyback on it. The left realized it's so easy to get people to vote in groups if you let them spew their rubbish. So the nature of the political landscape has changed completely. So we are not going to go back to that old system where people did not care, because you can't tell people not to protest when your own nations are participating actively. Like, I'll give you an example. As an Indian, I would have a problem. Like, Canada actively supported the farmers' protest in India. The Canadian government was interfering in Indian affairs just a few months ago.
No farming in the farmers' protest. There's a Khalistan protest. I'll just put that.
So that's the whole point, right? So when these things happen, then Canada has no locus standi to say anything as a country. And this is the nature. Now, Canadian citizens have a point. They're like, why should we be bothered about any of this? Well, then you need to ask your governments. And once again, you will have a conservative party in power in the upcoming election. When they come in power, these same elements are going to make your government say the same things. For example, you will have, let's say, a Tim Uppal, right? He's going to be tweeting about this. Now, this is a conservative party representative who's saying these things. It has nothing to do with Canada, right? Tim Uppal is the Conservative Party candidate. This has nothing to do with Canada. This is Tim Uppal tweeting, 40 years ago, a pre-planned attack by the Indian Army named Operation Blue Star was executed, blah, 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 blah. Look at this text, okay? Now, it's very interesting. This is the text. Now, what I'll do is I will show you another tweet. Now, the great Patrick Brown has blocked me.
Yeah.
So
Patrick Brown tweet.
Yeah, so I'm going to show the Patrick Brown tweet. Well, unfortunately, I no longer have access to Patrick's Twitter account because he blocked me, Patrick Brown.
He unblocked me, which is a fascinating thing. He blocked you and then unblocked me.
That sucks. I feel left out. And now Patrick Brown says the exact same tweet, word for word. There is no difference in the language. Now, my question is, what has a Canadian politician got to do with this? Isn't a Canadian politician interfering in Indian affairs? They are, right? It goes both ways. This is the problem. We live in a globalized world. We have to deal with the consequences.
Yeah, and listen, good foreign policy is good for the country, right? Canada, historically, pre-Justin Trudeau, we gained power off of our good foreign policy decisions over the last 100 years. Right. So, Canadians are very well thought of and respected in Europe because at the end of the Second World War, when, the Canadians made the decision to go through the Netherlands instead of taking the route through Belgium on the way to Germany. It would take longer, but they thought it was worth it to liberate the Netherlands from Nazi occupation because things were going so bad there. We took 13,000 casualties doing that. But every year, Canada is the only country in the world where our soldiers go to a foreign country and have a parade where the locals throw flowers at them in jubilation because that they made the sacrifice to fight Nazis, defend Western values, and liberate the Netherlands. This is thought of quite highly in Europe. This gave us further geopolitical standing by able to do this, right? Lester B. Pearson, the Canadians, we were the ones who negotiated the truce at the Suez Canal crisis, right? By having good moral standing, by being friends with America, but not as obnoxious as the Americans, by proving ourselves in Europe, by being a neutral party between the Israelis and the Egyptians and the French and the English, we gain global respect. So when all these international trade deals are being talked about, and the Europeans want to bring in Canada because Europe, their brand inside the third world, you'd say at the time, less lovey-dovey because of thoughts of colonialism. But to use Canada, right, and to be an ally of Canada is very, very good. So you want to bring Canada into these trade deals. And yes, you'll take our lumber and give us a good thing because by bringing Canada into it, it gives you a better name in the Middle East. It gives you a better name in Asia. It gave you a better name all here and here and there because Canada took good, strong foreign policy. In order to have a good policy, it doesn't mean you love everyone. Stephen Harper told Vladimir Putin the first time he invaded Ukraine in Crimea, I'll shake your hand. Says it on mic, says to his face, I'll shake your hand, but you have to get out of the Ukraine, right? And does that. Like, that's good, strong foreign policy. Your allies know you're a stalwart ally. Your enemies respect you because you have a good human rights thing, and people in the middle generally know you as good. This has, you using soft power correctly does, again, have economic benefits, right? We can trade with more parts of the world, right? If you can get your products to market better, more money is coming into Canada, more jobs, all of this. This is good, solid foreign policy, and people want this. But what you're seeing, the sentiments of just get rid of all of this, is because we've completely lost our way. We've ditched the moral standing. Trudeau came in and said we have no morals, right? He isolated us on the world stage by giving into wokeness, saying Canada is evil, Western civilization is evil, the whites are the problem, right? So all our allies, even though they might be saying this, woke bullshit too, they don't. Again, Canada is now a liability internationally because we're running around, we're a joke. Trudeau's dancing around like an idiot in India. We lose our prestige. We can't effectively use soft power. We can't effectively negotiate with anyone. We can't rely on our history as a noble country because Justin Trudeau went in front of the United Nations and said he copped to war crimes. He said he's actively committing a genocide, and he's the prime minister of a country in the middle of an active genocide. He copped to crimes against humanity in front of the entire world, and we just laughed him off. And right now, no one takes us seriously. Now we're being excluded from the Five Eyes. Five Eyes is now Four Eyes. Right? The Americans have to do our security for us. We wouldn't have. Do you think we would have found this ISIS terrorist from Pakistan if the FBI didn't tip us off to him? No. Right? We are now a laughingstock, and our inability to conduct good foreign policy is now having all these negative consequences to us, where everyone's just saying, okay, shut it down. Because I don't want to see Israelis and Palestinians yelling on the street. I don't want to see these yellow flag Khalistanis honking up and down, having a referendum at my city hall. It's annoying. I don't know the Tamil Tigers and all this. We don't. Like, people just want out of it. But, I want to bring back the pre-Trudeau days. We're like, no, Canada's a good country. It has a good history. It is good people. We are a country that is peaceful, but when pushed to it, we can be effective in war. We are warriors for peace. We liberated the Netherlands. We held the line at Flanders. Like, we are a solid, worthwhile people that it's worthwhile to be our ally and trade with us and do all this stuff. But we've completely thrown that all out the window, and now we get none of the benefits and all the drawbacks, and everyone just wants to check out, and I want to deport the prime minister. Can I do that?
Well, as long as you
deport
don't
the prime
send it to
minister.
India.
Is there a lawyer in the chat? Can we deport Justin Trudeau?
I just want to jump in and say, so a lot of people take my position as isolationist position. I don't know if that's what you're getting at, Kushal. Because a lot of people say, oh, the libertarian or the classical liberal position is isolationist. I think it's far from that. I mean, the classical liberal position was France intervening in a war against on one of their colonies against Britain, and that was the independence war of the United States. And then, the main thought behind that was, yeah, let's not get involved in entangling alliances, but definitely assert yourself where need be. And if you have to declare a war, you declare a war, you fight it, you win it, get it over with. None of this long-winded conflicts that are just, we know at this point are just revenue sources for giant conglomerates around the world. This is what a lot of these conflicts are all about. So I'm not a non-interventionist at all whatsoever. I think we should trade with everybody. And I think ensuring trade around the world is one of the best things. And it thwarts all of this. The more you have free trade, the more you have real trade, the more it thwarts the sentiment towards communism or any of the isms that people get into. If they're doing fine, they don't want to change things. Why would you change anything? Everything's hunky-dory. And the market's working good. You're happy. And the more countries that engage with marketplaces, the better off they are. Look at India right now. They're killing it. They're absolutely killing it. And they'll be eating our lunch if we don't get back on the ball and get away from this woke crap. Get away from this nouveau socialism.
Then, okay, right now the biggest focus for Indians and Canadians, or Canadians of Indian origin, Indians like me who are kind of half and half in India, half in Canada, Canadians like you, Canadians like Daniel, the first priority for us, for people like us, should be, why isn't the current Prime Minister of Canada signing a trade deal with India, which is a top 10 trading partner of Canada? And it is one of the fastest growing economies in the world. India is one of the fastest growing economies in the world. Now, if we wanted to benefit Indians in India, Canadians in Canada, we should have been talking about a trade deal. Now, this is where the problem happens. When Khalistanis do all kinds of crazy shit in Canada, and every single political party inside Canada, including the Conservative Party, plays footsie with them, the Indian government, which is one of the fastest growing economies in the world, they might need Canadian expertise and Canadians might need Indian expertise in things. The trade deal is not being signed.
Trudeau brought a friggin' terrorist who tried to assassinate an Indian minister on Canadian soil to his trip to India.
Yeah, that's terrible foreign policy right there. I mean, what are you doing? So we're being laughed at everywhere. We're being laughed at everywhere in the world.
Tell me, Clyde, if I was to tell you that this is the list of terrorists, right? India has been asking these people to be extradited back to India from Canada. Look at the year, 2003, and this is 2023.
And
one of them is
Hardeep
Singh Nijjar.
And what's the reason why we're not extraditing them to India?
They just keep making excuses, not enough evidence, this, that. It's basically they're pandering to the Khalistani lobby. They're pandering to the Khalistani lobby. And this is why India doesn't sign a trade deal.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And who benefits from this? Indians in India don't benefit from this. Canadians in Canada don't benefit from this. And for what? For Khalistan? For an imaginary thing that India is never going to allow? So my question to you, Clyde, as a patriotic Canadian, and to you, Daniel, as a patriotic Canadian, is that if you love Canada, don't you think the first thing you should demand from every member of parliament is that your first allegiance is to Canada and Khalistan is evil? Should that be a qualifying criteria that you actually criticize Khalistan? Nobody does. And then you don't trade with one of the fastest growing economies in the world? What's the point?
It's like, listen, I'm very Canada first. Thing, and like, but not like the Canada first. Like, I'm Canada first, allies second, opposing your enemies, strategic interest after that. Like, Canada first, who's set, like, allies second, but Canada always should be first.
Trade deals would fall under the first category. Exactly. When Britain walks away from us in trade negotiation, walks away from the table because we won't let up on our cheese tariffs, and they say you're not even serious. You're not serious. We're walking away. The country that we originate from won't make a trade deal with us. What kind of hopes do we have for having a trade deal with India?
It goes for that. If we're going back deep cuts from the good Maxime Bernier days, the Milk Mafia days, one of the best things Maxime Bernier said when he was running for Conservative Party leadership is, we need a free trade deal in Canada between the provinces.
Absolutely.
Like, our provinces don't even have free trade with each other. That's how insane things are in Canada, right? So that's OG Maxime Bernier, which I was a big supporter of. Like, get back to this, like, inter-Canadian free trade. Like, I want Ontario and Quebec to have a free trade deal before we got that. But like, the India thing's quite paramount, because in 5 to 10 years, India is going to be a global superpower in some way. It's sort of like, we need to sort of get in early when, get them when they're coming up, when they want to flex their power, be early in the deal, get good long-term deals secured. So when they become the mega superpower and they can start pushing people around, you're kind of already in the system. And, again, there's over 1 billion people in India. They're resource poor in a lot of ways, but rich in other things. We're resource rich. Hello?
Makes sense.
Hello?
I don't know. Dan, do you remember the moment I called you after I watched that clip of Pierre, when a media person of Indian origin asked Pierre that, what do we do when we trade with India? And he said, India needs 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We're naturally a match made in heaven. Daniel was the first guy I called. Dan, we have a leader now. We actually remember the exact words I used with Dan were, Dan, we have a leader now in Canada who thinks. But Clyde, nobody cares about the trade anymore. They care about Khalistan.
Well, see, here's the problem. I think Marxism has infiltrated the mindset of so many people so deeply in the Western world, and they believe that, we're on the decline, right? And it may be true that the Western world is on the decline. We were the first to market, let's say, and we benefited for a long time for being first to market with great markets, with all this stuff. And as other countries come up and come, they believe that there's this power dynamic, and it's rooted in Marxist theory. Power dynamic, there can only be one side that has all the power. But if you came from the Austrian School of Economics, you'd look at it like this. No, we have more people to trade with, which means everybody benefits. Everybody can do well here. We should stop thwarting our businesses here for the sake of the businesses across the world and sell our people out when everybody can win. If we're all at top capacity, if we're all at top efficiency in the things that we do best, and we're, the world is naturally going towards, specialization. We could specialize in all kinds of things. And India's been doing it within the tech sector for so damn long. And that's great. It's benefited us greatly that India's been offloading a lot of the workload for businesses here in Canada. Now it's freed people up to do other things. This is great. This means we could move forward with and I don't want to say, I want to shy away from saying a global economy, because that's that term has been used in that way. An actual,
but you're right. How
but
are
an
you
actual
wrong? You're
free,
right.
Yeah, but I'm not using it in a sentence, in a sentiment like Klaus Schwab or that ilk. I'm using it.
You have a good idea, and you can say it reasonably. They then take the end thing of global economy, reshift it to mean what they want, and launder their ideas under.
Yeah, and that's not what I'm talking. I'm talking about actual. If I want to do business with some business in some sector of India, or say I want to do business with somebody in Hong Kong or Australia or somewhere in Europe or right across the border in America, I should be able to do that freely. And this is what we should be striving for. We should be striving for businesses to be able to do business with businesses, customers to be able to purchase from all these places freely as they wish. But instead, we're going into a new age of mercantilism. We're going into this new age of trade barriers, trade wars, tariffs, and garbage. And it's not benefiting us. It just makes everything for the consumer, for our businesses, more expensive to operate. And I just don't think it's the right direction. I don't think it's the right direction at all.
And this is like, and the reason why I think Kushal and I are going on the conservatives a little bit and putting some fire on this is like, listen, India hates Justin Trudeau, maybe more than Canada. Okay, maybe not as much as Canada, but like, if there's an Olympics, if there's an Olympics of hating Justin Trudeau, I know what the gold medal match is going to be. I know who's in the gold medal match. We can debate over who's going to win it, but I know who's in the gold medal match.
Well, I'd say India for sure, because for one, they have more people. And for somehow in Canada, there are, maybe because of the propaganda, there are people who still appreciate Justin Trudeau for whatever reason.
Fair enough. So, okay. A year from now, he's gone. The Conservatives come in. They want a trade deal with India. I want a trade deal with India. Canadian businesses need it.
I want a trade deal with Canada.
Everyone wants it, okay? We're talking about billions and billions and billions of dollars coming into our economy. If the Khalistanis, who are currently at the top of the party on the front bench, if the Khalistanis are sitting at the front bench and Pierre brings them to India, no trade deal is going to happen.
No deal.
No deal is going to happen. If they're sitting at the back bench and they're not on the plane, and they come off, and it's
if these four people are your representatives for the Indian trade deal, I can guarantee you, Clyde, it's not going to happen.
If Pierre puts any of those people on a plane to India, that's tens of billions of dollars taken out of the Canadian economy right there. If they don't, listen, Pierre needs to get this. If he puts those people in the front bench and he takes them on a plane to negotiate a trade deal with India, they won't get it. India wants to. They're very friendly. If they don't come, if Pierre says, okay, you sit this one out, they're on the backbench, they're not in charge of the party, flies into India, he'll get a massive ovation for not being Justin Trudeau. He'll come in and we'll walk out with a multi-billion-dollar trade deal, sending our resources and stuff to India. We'll get stuff from them. Your grocery bills go down. Your unemployment rate goes down. And all the good stuff we want. And so am I voting for Pierre? Yeah, I'm voting for Pierre. But that's why I think as like supporters of the party, it's important to make our voices heard, being like, listen, you can't have people inside the party who actually harbor views that are counter to the values of the base, right? And you've met it. Politicians are scumbags. They'll go left, they'll go right, they'll go center, they'll put on a red hat, an orange hat, or whatever. Most of them are garbage. I get that, but give me the useless garbage rather than the ideological anti-Canadian garbage, and that's sad. That's what we have to ask for these days.
Just to give you guys a perspective, the Indian Prime Minister is in America. I don't know how many people know this. He just had a fruitful roundtable with tech CEOs in New York discussing aspects relating to technology, innovation, and more. This is the Indian Prime Minister. These are all your tech CEOs. These are the top of the line in America. Ask yourself, why is this not happening with us, Canada and India? When I say us, I mean India and Canada, because I do consider myself to be half Canadian too. So why isn't it happening with us? I mean, I care about this shit, man. But you think by having those faces negotiating, we're going to get that shit done? No. The total market cap of that photo, the baseline assessment would be around $7 to $8 trillion. Those people and Narendra Modi. Do you think all those CEOs are stupid? They're meeting the Indian Prime Minister. They know what is coming. They know the Indian economy is rising. The current Prime Minister and Jagmeet, they don't. And my biggest fear is, once again, people may not like me doing this again and again, but if these people are the faces of the Conservative Party and these people are negotiating on behalf of the Conservative Party, I can guarantee you nothing's going to move. No needle is going to be moved. I can assure you that much. India doesn't like these people. You're not going
to. These people, I know them. They will make a play to get on that plane to India because they want to tank this. They know they're toxic. They know their presence will tank it. They'll use whatever hook and crook inside the Conservative Party. They will want to be on the plane. They will want to go to India. They will want to stand behind Pierre and smile and say yes, yes, yes. But they know that if they're there, they can tank a trade deal with India. They can undermine, Canadian-Indian relationship, which is their goal to do anyway. So again, like this is why you'll find me yelling at many different people in this country, but particularly with like the Khalistanis and the Conservative Party, like it's going to cost us billions and billions of dollars. Just put them on the backbench. Just sit them at the backbench. Sit them in the back. Michelle Rempel Gardner used to be a big star in the Conservative Party. Oh, is she going to be the next Prime Minister of Canada? Then she went super woke, called everyone racist, decided everything is trans. You now sit in the back, Michelle. You now sit in the back. I want to sit the Khalistanis beside Michelle Rempel Gardner. They can be the former stars who are like, okay, just sit in the backbench. Oh, you want to say from the backbench that the Conservative Party should really change it should have a pronoun sticker on it? Sit back there. No one on the front bench gets to say crazy stuff. Just put them in the back, so they can collect a salary. They can be an MP. They can do that. They were voted for. People voted for them. Fine, whatever. But Pierre's job should be all the Khalistanis, all the jihadis, all the Marxists, backbench, in the back. Everyone who's actually conservative, front bench. That's all we want.
Fair enough. Let's take super chats and wrap up. Somebody has said
Absolutely.
NDP's voter base is Khalistanis, Islamists, self-hating white people. That's just so funny. It is so funny that crazy Western left thinks that as soon as you are a person of color, you are by default a noble, righteous person. I'm brown and I find it funny. There's so many assholes in the brown community.
I think that's all coming to an end. With the popularity of Matt Walsh's new film that's just come out. Oh, yeah. I think a lot of this is going to come to an end. This whole white guilt crap is going to go away. People are just going to go back to seeing people for their content of their character instead of the color of their skin.
I'm just looking at it.
I hope we get to that world.
I think
I mean, this has to be the greatest super chat. Guilting white people into supporting a terrorist organization sympathizer that knows they use their protest as a front for an immigration scam. I have to respect the hustle.
Yeah.
You kind of have to, like, the Khalistanis are so stupid. Like, I'm not going to say the R word here, but every time I think they're all mentally challenged. But the fact that they managed to pull this off is actually kind of impressive because you get them talking about anything else. Like, I don't know if it's just like a natural thing. They're just really, really good at immigration scams, or we're basically immigration scamming ourselves. Who knows? But
Yeah.
Hats off to the intricate human trafficking and money laundering
Yeah.
scheme that is the
JagMeet's job is to provide a cover up to Khalistanis. He can't claim to be a liberal in Canada, but provide tacit support to a theocratic ethno state. I don't know, man, what JagMeet's job is. JagMeet's job is like, come at me, bruh. Come at me, bruh. That's all JagMeet can do. Oh, man. It's just crazy. Somebody has asked this question. Daniel, do you have an answer? How can JagMeet Singh condemn neo-Nazis but have no problem with Khalistanis? Can you answer that?
Because he's a Khalistani. And JagMeet actually does, when neo-Nazis do, again, you've seen this from the left, actually. When neo-Nazis side with radical leftists on things like, if the big one is Israel right now, right? Neo-Nazis hate Jews, so they're screaming about Israel. And the, the lefties want to, join with the Omni cause because everything's the cause. He actually, when neo-Nazis are screaming at Jews, like the OG Nazi stuff, he's totally fine with that. It's just when neo-Nazis come after him, he has a problem.
Oh, this is so good because this is so true. You guys will not understand it. This is inside baseball of Indian communities. Khalistanis become Indians when they have to run an Indian restaurant, grocery store, because nobody will show up in a Khalistani restaurant. Not just Khalistanis, even Pakistanis. They always write Indian food. They don't write Pakistani food. But first of all, there's no such thing as Pakistani food. It's all Indian food. But yeah, nobody will go to a Pakistani restaurant. So even the Khalistanis, Indian food. That's the only time they promote India because they have to do business. It's hilarious. So somebody has said, no offense, I lived in Canada 12, 13, loved it, revisited in 2022. Canada has changed so much. I doubt I'll ever return. And I live in Londonistan. By the way, this is an Indian because the super chat is in Indian rupees.
An Indian saying Canada's too crazy and they live in Londonistan. So, shout out to Melanie Phillips for that term. But yeah, so this is the person who says, yeah, I'm in Sadiq Khan's London, which is, I'm sure your audience, Clyde, is pretty aware of, some of the problems in the UK right now. That guy's saying Canada's too much, mind blowing.
So Clyde is just like, what did we sign up for?
Yeah, what did I get myself into here?
The remaking of Khalistan movie is being set in Canada with Justin Castro nurturing Khalistanis and Islamists, risking Canada's future if not stopped. Well, okay, this is for Daniel. Unblock me. No more spam. Somebody, have you blocked this person, Daniel?
I don't know. I don't block people on Twitter. I mute them. If people are annoying, I mute them because I don't want someone to be like, I got under Daniel.
Good. Clyde, this is a question for you. What are the structural problems in Canadian economy that are magnifying the crisis? Also, how long will it take it to fix the structural issues? Go.
With our economic crisis in Canada, property rights. There's a massive issue with property rights, and whether it's big giant corporations or it's individuals, there's no real sense of property rights. So we have this what the Austrian economists call regime uncertainty in Canada. Mm-hmm. So people will stay away from our economy because they're afraid that if they invest here, they'll have their property confiscated for arbitrary rules. It'll come around tomorrow. We don't even know what they're planning, or what they don't even have a plan. They just come up with it. They're shooting at the hip, taking away people's property, and it really is a big problem for investors, for investment, trying to drive investment in Canada. More Canadians are taking their money, taking their liquid assets, and they're moving them offshore. They're moving them outside of Canada, whether it's the United States or to India, to other places in Europe. This is what Canadians are doing, and we're not going to drive capital growth by driving people out of the country. That's absolutely a terrible idea. Now, people might come back if a conservative government comes in, but they're worried that they want to see something long term. They want to see something that looks more like a safe place for investment. And you're not going to see that in Canada long term if it keeps going that way.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Okay, somebody from India has said India warned Canada for decades about the fake refugee terrorists, yet Canada gave them asylum anyways in order to keep, quote, India in check, all being done with the help of America. Well, can't do much about it. Okay, Wyatt says weak foreign policy. Hey, Wyatt is watching. How,
Yeah.
Wyatt? How are you doing, Wyatt? Okay, no. So let's do a plug. Shameless plug. Daniel makes videos on the National Telegraph channel sometimes. Great show tonight, Clyde.
Thank you
Ladies
so
and
much.
gentlemen, please go and follow Wyatt Claypool on Twitter or X, whatever you like to call him. He's a good guy. It's too serious. Wyatt needs to do the Indian dance once. That's one of my aims in life.
$10,000 bounty. If anyone can make Wyatt do a Bollywood dance, if Wyatt Claypool is made to do a Bollywood dance, I'll die of shock. But I will write into my will that you are entitled to $10,000 of that money. If you can make Wyatt Claypool do a Bollywood dance, good luck.
Wyatt,
Good luck.
we'll split it. Just do the dance. I'll take the 10,000, give you 5,000.
Wyatt's too ethical for that. Again, I know Wyatt too well. Wyatt would never do that. Wyatt's a good Christian boy, uncorruptible. And I've tried to corrupt Wyatt. It can't be done.
Oh my!
It's the safest $10,000 bet I've ever made in my life.
That sucks. All right, we've covered all the super chats. So before we wrap up this wonderful live stream, I'll first go to Clyde. Clyde,
can we pull Wyatt's response? I know it's not a super chat. Just pull Wyatt's response up from the chat to show how right I am.
Oh, Wyatt.
Easiest 10,000. And I don't even make money off this bet. It's not even a bet. It's just me offering it up into the ether. Never felt safer.
He's a good man. He's a good man. Go follow him, ladies and gentlemen. He's a good man. Yeah. So, Clyde, you go first, then Daniel.
Yeah, if you're looking to find more content, like the conversation we've been having tonight, I have conversations like this all the time on my YouTube channel. Some people are watching on the YouTube channel and might feel confused right now because we're multi-streaming. But for all of those on Kushal's channel, yeah, check me out over on Clyde Do Something on YouTube, and you can also find me on Twitter at Clyde Do Something without the G. The handle was too long. Go check that out. Lots of conversations like this and daily news updates about what's happening in Canada and around the world and things that I find important in this pursuit of liberty, or at least getting it back in the Western world. We would like to see that sometime in my lifetime anyway.
Dan?
Same here. You can find me sometime. I do O Canada with Kushal Mehra, as Wyatt pointed out. I also part of the National Telegraph. So follow National Telegraph on Twitter, on YouTube, videos there, Canadian content. Wyatt makes videos there. The best. If you want a breakdown of like how Canadian politics works at municipal, what do the polls mean? What's this? You want an explanation of like the inner workings of the Canadian political system? Why it's the best in the country? You could find me on Twitter, Daniel Boardman OG. Anywhere type my name into a social media thing, I'll pop up. I'll be yelling at whatever terrorists you like the least. And yes, so before I get whacked by a jihadi, come give me a follow.
Yeah, it's perfect. As far as I'm concerned, just type Kushal Mehra. And there are not many Kushal Mehras on planet Earth that are doing content creation. You'll find me everywhere. I'm there on YouTube, Patreon, everywhere. You just find me anywhere. And I just have one last request. Yes, I criticize Khalistanis all the time, but I have a request because this is also being streamed on Clyde's platform. Don't hate on the Sikh community. These are good Canadians. These are good people.
Mm-hmm.
These are valuable members of the Canadian society. So my request to everyone is I will go hard against the Khalistanis, but as a Punjabi, albeit a Hindu Punjabi, I love my Sikh brothers. The Gurus are as much, dear to me as they are to a Sikh person. So my request to everybody who's going to watch this on Clyde's channel, don't try to understand Khalistan more. And then when you realize that it's a violent movement that has, died down in India, but has taken its own life in India, in Canada, and it's causing grave harm to Canada. The biggest terrorist attack in Canadian history happened over here. So try and understand that and don't take it out on an average Sikh because they did not sign up for this. And I hope you guys are.
JagMeet Singh.
Yeah, the Jagmeet is the problem, not the average Canadian Sikh who loves Canada and he's trying to contribute positively to Canada. Don't take it out on them. So that's all I have to say. As far as this podcast is concerned, I'm glad we did a joint stream because I wanted it to go to Clyde's channel so that, different kinds of people, and I'm glad, more and more people know about Clyde's. In the description of my video, you will have Clyde's YouTube channel. So go subscribe to Clyde. You'll have Clyde's X handle. Go follow him on X. You'll have Daniel's PayPal link. If you want to contribute directly to Daniel, you can send him money on PayPal. You can follow Daniel on X. You can also follow the National Telegraph on X. You can follow Wyatt Claypool. As far as I'm concerned, all the details are there in the description of the podcast. I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye-bye.